Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest in the mining industry. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Sashni.
Now, 3 months in, can you tell us how the new rail corridor agreement between Richards Bay Coal Terminal and Transnet is progressing?
You know, the Richards Bay Coal Terminal was always an example of how the public sector and the private sector could move smoothly together. But the intensity of their discussions was never at the level that it is now. You know, this new mutual agreement that they've got is showing that they can improve performance there. I mean, they did have that derailment because of the signalling. They've got to fix up the signalling. There's a lot of the maintenance on that line that hasn't been done. But again, you know, that can move forward fast because of the close liaison now between the public sector and the private sector, you know, along the line, at the terminal, at the port. I think that it's an example of, you know, the way the public and private sector can move in a way that for the benefit of South Africa, to get those exports out, those coal exports out to the world. It really is important for the revenue that comes into the country and for the strength of our rand and the employment that it creates. So, you know, 69 collieries in South Africa export through there, and you can see that the juniors did much better this time around. They've got a 4 million allocation, but they got to the 3 million level of exports, and there's special assistance that's been given to juniors as well. So that's, you know, the broad front is poised now to do much better. Along with that is that there's a definite downward trajectory now in this disruption from cable theft, you know, overhead cable. There's also a replacement of cable, you know, taking the copper cable once it's stolen, and also when you've got shutdowns, putting in aluminium-based cable that is really worthless to cable thieves. But at the same time, they've got to communicate this well because they still have severance of cable. People think, hey, this is a copper cable. Then suddenly they find it's an aluminium cable that's going to give them no return, and then they just leave it lying there, but it still disrupts. So they need to put up big signs saying there's no longer any copper here, I think, to communicate, to try and cut it even further. Then the whole prosecution, people are ending up prosecuted, but they want to up that level and make sure that those who continue to disrupt, you know, end up in jail.
Now, Anglo American has teamed up with a large Chinese recycler to launch a research and development project.
You know, this recycling and the circularity has become very, very important. So, you know, you see quite a few companies linking up with China. There's quite a flow of metal there in the platinum group metal side. And, you know, also you see here in the nickel, copper, cobalt, which Anglo American is looking now to research and work with this rather large Chinese recycler to make sure that it's almost like another mine. And what is happening now is that people are prepared to pay more for the recycled material because it's got less of a carbon emission problem. So I think it's very good that Anglo American has realized this, teamed up with a nice sizable co-researcher, really, and hopefully they'll bring in quite a lot of material. It does impact on their mines, of course. I mean, if you've got platinum group metals or you've got copper mines and you are actually recovering copper there, it slows you down on the primary side, but it has to be done in the new world of circularity for the benefit of mitigation of climate change.
Now, 30 years on, this year's Investing in African Mining Indaba will focus on new prospects under the disruption theme.
The mining industry has always been regarded as being very conservative and slow to move forward. But in today's world, you know, you've got to move forward very, very fast because you've got such a lot of potential assistance, you know, that can help you with artificial intelligence and all the other technologies available. So, you know, at the Mining Indaba, where we'll all be next week, it's not only South African mines. In fact, you know, South Africa is just one of the areas that gets some showing. It looks largely at Africa, but also global. So you can get insight into the pace of change within the industry and what is working and what can work with more collaboration, and highlighting that this disruption can really uplift the industry. We've been saying for a long time that if the mining industry followed the manufacturing industry, it could move itself forward. I think there's a realization of that, and there's also a grasping of these new technologies, which is the way to go. I suppose you've got to be cautious about it. You've got to make sure that you're on a winning wicket, but they always do some sort of research and development beforehand to see whether it works. So they're not going to go in that blindfolded, and speaking to others there will also give them more confidence. But there's going to be a lot more at the Mining Indaba. A lot of heads of state are going to be there, including, President Cyril Ramaphosa. And again, it's quite a nice meeting point because there's also a lot of product on display. A lot of stands there and a big crowd that can move through and see all the products on display and then go into the auditorium, get input on latest comments, and then move through that display area again and give a lot of visibility to the products that are exhibited there.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
Great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. To subscribe to Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly, please email subscriptions@creamermedia.co.za.